A video 2 days in a row is something that hasn't happened on this channel in a very long time. I think I've done it once, maybe twice in the whole time that I've ever uploaded a video to this channel. 2 days in a row is an impressive effort, and to be honest, it's a step in the right direction for me as I try and do this as consistently as possible now. Today, I sort of just wanted to jump on and talk about two teams that realistically have had really bad seasons this year, and sort of talk about like what their future looks like and like where I see them going in the near future, the steps that they need to take to get themselves in the right direction. Because for right now, I think these two teams are really the only two teams I see with little to no upside at the moment. Those two teams being the Washington Wizards and the Utah Jazz. Funnily enough, both of these teams are on the bottom of their respective conferences, and any guesses why? The Wizards have had a really weird year this year. Traded for Chris Middleton in the middle of the season. They had Kyle Kuzma, and Kyle Kuzma, we know how much of a joke Kyle Kuzma was on that roster. He really didn't care too much about their situation, I don't think. You could see by his bodily movements and the way he was playing and the way him and Jordan Poole were running the offense. It was really stagnant and really just like ISO heavy ball when, to be honest, they're not two of the best ball handlers in the association. Jordan Poole is much better than Kyle Kuzma, don't get me wrong. But Kyle Kuzma handling the rock is really, like, now that he's on a competitive team in the Milwaukee Bucks, he is not getting any ball handling privileges. He's hitting the corner for spot ups and maybe getting the occasional dribble drive. Other than that, he is not taking control of any of the offense, and that's the better Kyle Kuzma, in my opinion. He just needs to sort out his shot selection, and he just needs to sort out who he is as a player and what, he is really good at. And I think he will make a step in the right direction at the Bucks. For the Wizards, Chris Middleton, we know how good Chris Middleton is in clutch situations, playoff situations, all those sorts of things. But when he's on a developing Washington Wizards team like the one that we have, he's not really going to get any of those crunch time playoff type minutes for at least another few years. And Chris Middleton, as long as I've known him as an NBA player, hasn't really been the kind of player that could carry your team. Chris Middleton has, for me, just been a really good role player, playing with Giannis and playing with Dame for a couple of years, playing with Brook Lopez in that sort of offense, is really the way that Chris Middleton got to the best part of his game, is being that second or third option, depending on who he's playing with. Being the number one option in front of Jordan Poole in a team that's looking to heavy rebuild is a really hard one for Chris. I think Chris is going to find lack of motivation in that organization because it's hard. They're going to get their draft capital. I believe that they have their pick for this year and they haven't expanded too many picks. They're just going to have to find how their rebuild works. Whether that be moving Chris Middleton off again or that be moving Jordan Poole to another location while Jordan Poole's got value. The only reason Jordan Poole's even at the Wizards, in the first place is because the Warriors had the Draymond thing. Who knows what happens with Jordan down the line? I think he will have probably maybe 2 more years at the Wizards before they look to move him. They will try and build around Jordan, but I don't think Jordan can be that guy on a championship roster. As good as he was in the finals for us that year, I don't think he finds his form to be the number one option on a championship team. As for the Utah Jazz, to me, they have even less upside than the Wizards. They have Lauri Markkanen, who we all know 8 months ago the Warriors were throwing tooth and nail at the Jazz to try and get Lauri Markkanen on the team. But they didn't budge. They kept the same lineup. They've got Colin Sexton starting at point. They've got Jordan Clarkson, who feels like he's been there forever. They just, ever since their teams a few years ago with Rudy and Donovan and all those guys, they finally feel like they're in a place where they've just really got no one. Keontae George is another great player for them, but he has his nights. He's a really sparky shooter. Some nights he'll have 8 threes, 9 threes, and some nights he'll shoot 0 for 8. So he's a really sparky guy in that sense. I just don't know where the rebuild comes from. The Lauri Markkanen trade piece is a really useful piece for them, and I think they will eventually use it in the right deal. But I don't know how much you'll get for Lauri Markkanen these days, especially from what we went from with the Rudy Gobert trade, where the Jazz got 100 picks for Rudy Gobert. The Kevin Durant trade 12 months ago, where the Brooklyn Nets basically got 2 role players and a couple of draft picks. So the market is so up and down at the moment where I have no idea what the value of a guy like Lauri Markkanen is. And that's really hard in the sense that that's, to me, their only really good piece. They have a lot of picks, don't get me wrong. As I said, the Rudy Gobert trade, they've got a ton of picks. They'll be able to build up through the draft, hopefully, get whatever picks the Timberwolves are going to give them. I don't know sort of what the protections are that came from those picks, but I can imagine they wouldn't be too bad. They've just got to draft, and they've got to draft well. Otherwise, I don't see them moving anytime soon. Lower market sort of team, we all know with lower market teams that they tend to not attract the biggest names in basketball. Obviously, the Warriors before Steph Curry wasn't a big market team. They really had no one. They had Monte Ellis, who, don't get me wrong, was a ridiculously good basketball player. He was on this team where he would just get given the ball and it'd be like an episode of NBA Street. Monte Ellis would dribble around, he'd shoot the ball, and they just didn't have that chemistry around the team. Post Steph Curry, the teams came together. Obviously, we know this. They built the best team of all time. The market skyrocketed for the Warriors, and now the Warriors is one of the biggest market teams in the association. But I don't see the Utah Jazz getting a guy like that, that's going to build their franchise, that's going to get actual ticket sales to the venue. It's going to attract other players. I forgot what their center's called. Salt Lake City is what their area is. I don't know what the stadium's called these days. I forget. But they just need to attract someone. I don't know how they're going to do it or where they're going to do it from, but building up in the draft is going to take them a very long time. And I don't know if, they've got to draft perfectly for them to be a threat in at least maybe the next 10 or so years. Otherwise, for Utah Jazz fans, I feel bad for you guys. I think the Warriors are going to be in the same position once Steph and Draymond retire. But that's another story. The Utah Jazz, to me, have just got a hunt. They have a ton of picks that they could use. They could spare some of those picks to try and maybe find a good player that's going to attract some people to Utah. With those two teams, I think they're the only real two that don't have much upside. The Charlotte Hornets have got young stars, which eventually I think Charlotte's going to pick it up. They're going to be much better. The 76ers, they're a good team. On paper, they're a really good team. It just this year has been absolutely awful. Everything's gone wrong. Joel Embiid couldn't stay on the basketball court. Paul George, there's memes going around that Paul George stole $200 million from them. So Philly's all over the place at the moment, but on paper, they have a really good roster. So they just need to keep building on that and hope the processes. Brooklyn Nets, they've got really good role players. They're just missing the depth and the stars. And I think if they could go out and find a star, they would be a really good basketball team. Keon Johnson has shown some value this year. Cam Thomas, we all know how good his offense is. Cam Johnson, he's one of the best corner shooters in the whole association, behind Taurean Prince. Shout out Taurean Prince, has barely missed a shot all year by the seams of it. But anyway, the Toronto Raptors are another sort of one that I could sort of touch on. Their roster's really weird. Scotty Barnes, I really didn't enjoy the play of Scotty Barnes this year. He put the stats up, yes, and he, made his numbers in his respective fields, but he didn't really seem to take a leap like you would want a top 3 pick to do in year 3, I think it is for Scotty now. he really just didn't make that jump, and I think Toronto really wanted him to make that jump. So we'll see what happens again next year. Otherwise, Toronto's going to need a lot more guys around them than just RJ Barretts and your Emmanuel Quickleys and those sort of guys who are really good basketball players in themselves, but they just don't have the firepower to be competing with some of these top teams at the moment, like the OKCs of the world, who are going to be good for 100 years. Out west, you got the Spurs, who have got Wemby. Wemby is going to take them to a title one day. He's going to win them an MVP. He was going to be Defensive Player of the Year this year before he went down injured. The Pelicans have got Zion. And Zion coming into the league, everyone thought that he was going to instantly make them a top 4 seed, drag them up to where they wanted to be, and that was that. But for me, Zion's style of play is really lackluster, and I don't think it's something that when he ages another 8 to 10 years, he's going to be able to sustain it. Who knows? LeBron has the same sort of play style as him, so he could maybe hold it up. But LeBron James is a whole different beast, and we all know how good LeBron James is. So for Zion to really pick up, he has to help these Pelicans out. They've been bounced in and out of the play-in over the last couple of years, actually made a playoff series, and then Zion went injured. It's his availability that's really killing them. Zion just needs to be available. He needs to be on the basketball court, and he needs to contribute to the team. I don't know how they do it, but it just needs to happen. The Trailblazers is another weird one, but they've got like Denny Avdija, who for the second half of the season, after he's come over from the Wizards, has been an absolute dog. Shooting the ball, rebounding the ball. He's started working on his playmaking, so he's getting better at playmaking. His defensive tools are there. He's just got to further develop that defense, and he's going to be an amazing basketball player. Anthony Simons, we know how good he is. Shaedon Sharp's got to keep developing himself into not just a ring threat. He's got to learn his jump shot a bit more, and once he organises that jump shot, he's going to be a really good player. Scoot Henderson is the only other one that I can sort of think of. Number 1 pick a couple of years ago. Needs to develop himself. He has shown glimpses, don't get me wrong. He's shown glimpses of being a really good basketball player. But when he come into the league, he was talking and saying that he was going to be that dude. So far in the season and nearly 2 seasons now that we've seen him, he hasn't really done anything overly of notice. So it's just waiting for him to really develop his skills and get more comfortable in the association. It's only year 2. I don't expect everyone to be a Wemby and be a freak of nature by year 2. He needs to further develop himself that little bit more before the Blazers actually start getting themselves in contention. Because for me, the tools are there for the Blazers. They just need to find a good big, is one of them. Shout out Duart Wraith and those guys out there. They're good shooters, don't get me wrong, but in terms of like big centers in the NBA, really not all the way there. They just need to find that size, and their guard play youth is there. They just need to develop it, and I think they will be a really good basketball team. But yeah, quick sort of video. That's basically everyone I wanted to discuss. Because I can't make like I said in my video yesterday, I can't make my playoff predictions. So I may as well go into the teams that have been eliminated, and we're only going to see a couple more games of before the end of the season. Basically, just touch on them. That's sort of the direction I think a lot of those teams can go. The tools are there for a lot of them. They just need to develop. And for these bottom 2 teams that I spoke about, it's just about building. Rebuilds aren't like the Detroit Pistons where they can happen in 3 years' time. But the day will come for them, I have no doubt, and eventually they will start to see wins go up on the board. It can happen so quickly in the association, and that's why we love it so much. But yeah, that's everything I got for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed yet another video, second day in a row. The motivation is there for me at the moment. So I'm just writing the motivation. I'm enjoying doing these videos. So I'm going to keep getting them out to you guys. I might miss a video tomorrow. I'm not too sure. how I work that one out, but I might get another one out tomorrow. At least the stat line of the day will be coming out. I'm going to try and get them every single day because they don't take me very long to create. But yeah, I will see you guys when I see you. I hope you guys are enjoying the content, liking, subscribing, get it in there. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you, guys.